Hello there, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another Rebelscum.com video review. And today we are reviewing the new vintage collection release of the Imperial AT-ST Walker. And this time we get it with Chewie. And of course, this is also one of those pieces as part of the 40th anniversary release of Return of the Jedi. And this is also supposed to be the best release of this AT-ST mold yet. Supposedly, the fine folks at Hasbro on the VC team worked on this mold to fix the issues with the legs. Because if you're familiar with this walker, well, it's always had a hard time standing up for fans. Some fans are resulted to either over-tightening the joints, sometimes accidentally breaking them, or some fans even just glued them in place. And despite all that, it is still the best AT-ST 4 3/4 scale fans with the most accurate detail so far. But we'll get to the articulation and stuff very soon. First off, we have the packaging. So there it is. There's that classic vintage collection packaging where you've got the walker there and you've got Chewie poking his head out of the top. I really, really love that. This is a really cool release of this piece. I will say it is kind of a shame that Chewie doesn't come carded with this release of the walker. He just comes in a tissue paper baggie. But that said, it's still not a big deal because this is still a great release. So there's the front. On the side, you've got some images of the walker and some of the play features. I think it's the same images on this side as well. And then on the back, it's the same as the front. AT-ST and Chewbacca from the top. And that's pretty much it for the packaging. And here is everything out of the box. I will say, aside from all of the other touch-ups that they did, like re-engineering the joints to be tighter and better, they also repainted it quite a bit, added some more battle damage and rust and stains and dirt. More wear on the feet. I really like that. That looks really cool. Not a whole lot of wear on the waist section of the AT-ST. There's those awesome chin guns and the cheek guns of the AT-ST. And then, of course, we've got the neck piece. And there's Chewie, which we'll cover in a moment. So we do have to assemble this thing. First things first, we're going to take the legs and we're going to put those on. So this is the left leg. And that just clicks into place. This is the right leg. And that just clicks into place. Oh, yeah. That's way better already. I can feel the tightness in those joints. Especially in those ankles. Those ankles are nice and strong. You're not going to cross this guy on the court. Not today. Now we put in that neck joint. Go ahead and pop on the head there. Oh, wow, that's nice and tight too. Usually takes me way longer to get this thing to stand up. This is already an improvement. Click that into place. There's the chin gun. And there's the cheek guns. And there is the AT-ST all put together. This is definitely better. Still looks really great. Still has that same molded detail as the other releases of this AT-ST. And this isn't the first time this mold has even been released in the vintage collection. This mold goes way back. In fact, it's over 10 years old now. And it's still a great mold. I get that Hasbro keeps re-releasing it, but they have released it pretty much better every time. And a lot of the paint jobs have also been consistently different every time as well, except for maybe one one of the repackaged releases off the top of my head, but this is really truly the best release of this piece so far. It is fully articulated, including the windows still open for the eyes of the AT-ST. I've always loved that look of this walker. You have an articulated chin gun, can go from side to side and up and down. Full rotation on the cheek guns. You have not only the actual hatch that opens, but this whole compartment so you can better pose your action figures on the inside. You got the 2 driver's seats right there. You got the little back section. And this is where I talk about how the AT-ST isn't perfect, because as we know, those 2 driver's seats are supposed to be closer to the front of the AT-ST, and there's supposed to be a little bit of standing room in the back here. And it's also supposed to be large enough where a regular sized human can stand up inside, and this isn't quite big enough for that. So it's still not quite 100% to scale, but this is still a really good release of the AT-ST, especially for 3/3/4 scale, at least in my opinion. Head can go side to side. You have this hip joint right here. You have this knee joint right here. You have this rear knee joint right there. This upper ankle joint there, and the ankle joints as well on the actual feet. And then of course you can take your Happy Chewie here and put him in the hatch of the AT-ST. So he can say, "Hey Han, it's me." And then Han's gonna hop inside, put on a dead driver's uniform, and trick the officer inside the bunker to open the door for him, which is still pretty funny, all things considered, because when he says, "I have an idea," you assume he's going to have Chewie blasted open with the walker, maybe with some of the missiles on the side or some of the grenades or whatever. It's got decent ordnance, so those bunker doors must be strong if his idea wasn't immediately to blast it open, right? Next up, we have the Chewie that came with the AT-ST, and yeah, nothing really new here on the Chewie. We've had this fully articulated Chewie mold also for quite some time, along with the walker there. The head is on a ball joint, fully articulated shoulders, single jointed elbows, wrist joints, upper torso, lower torso, forward and back on the hips, no side jointage on the hips, which is one of the reasons why we actually do need an actual new Chewie, is because Chewie has needed hip joints for a while now. He still has just the forward and back range of motion on the hips, and he still has no side-to-side movement, which is kind of a shame. Single jointed knees, and his knees have really good range of motion. Ankle joints, and that's pretty much it for articulation. He, of course, comes with his bandolier and satchel and his bowcaster because, well, he's a Wookiee. He always has his bowcaster on him. And overall, it's a pretty decent release of Chewie. It's not a bad figure. Same with the walker. I get the mindset here. It's the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. Hasbro hasn't ever really released a single AT-ST with a Chewbacca before, so this is thematic. It's pretty cool. And these are still good molds. I mean, despite the hips on Chewie and the fact that this walker has also been released several times, the articulation on the walker is definitely way better than any other time they've released it. It hasn't once fallen over on me in this entire video, which is insanely awesome, especially for how weak the legs were and how hard it is to get it to stand up for the previous releases of that AT-ST. So I can get why Hasbro reissued it, especially because there's probably a lot of fans new to vintage collection or just new to Star Wars collecting in general who would like to have a decent AT-ST, and it was a nice, good re-release, a re-release that needed to be fixed like it was, and you got a cool Chewie out of it as well. Now, would it have been nice if we got a new Chewie mold with articulated hips on his own card back? Absolutely yes. And I really hope that Hasbro still does that at some point in the future. They could even do it as the Jabba's Palace Chewie, like the 40th anniversary Black Series Chewbacca, where he's got the chain around his neck. Just do it with a removable chain or something for this Chewie, where you just pop the head off the ball joint, put the chain down, pop it back on, and he's got the chain hanging around his collar, or vice versa. You know, he comes packaged with it. You pop the ball joint off the head, you pull that chain off, you pop it back on. That would have been a good release, and it would have been a good Chewie to go with either your barge and or your Jabba's Palace playset, especially since now the Jabba is coming for it. And it would have also been just really great with this in general. Now, I can see why that would be a very poor release for a new molded and carded Chewie to come with a walker that we've already had released a bunch of times. So it makes sense not only for Hasbro, but also for the collector to get this Chewie with this walker. But I'm just saying, for the future Hasbro, it is time to truly mold a new Chewbacca figure. The arms don't bug me so much. I mean, it's from the waist up, this Chewie is really great. It's just the hips. Really, the hips are the only issue I have with this figure. They're very outdated. He needs new hip articulation. You owe it to the fans. You owe it to Chewbacca. Let's get a new Chewie. I think the idea I proposed was very cool, but I want to hear from you guys as well, the fans. How would you like to see an updated Chewie be tooled, articulation or detail-wise, for an upcoming updated TVC release? Let us know in the comments. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's video review featuring the new Vintage Collection 40th Return of the Jedi release of Chewbacca with the AT-ST. He and the Ewoks hijack in Return of the Jedi. Did I just spoil something in Return of the Jedi for you? Well, you've had 40 years to watch it, so stop what you're doing right now. Go watch Return of the Jedi. It is a great movie, and more importantly, it's one of the greatest Star Wars movies of all time. So please go watch it if you haven't watched it yet. Stay tuned for more Vintage Collection reviews. Stay tuned for more Rebelscum.com content. Speaking of, there is daily Rebelscum.com content on the main website, Rebelscum.com. So make sure that you're checking Rebelscum.com every single day for video reviews and more. Also, if you like non-Star Wars content, check out our other website, CoolToyReview.com, where you can see all kinds of awesome toy news there as well. And for more reviews and content, like and subscribe to CoolToyReview.com and Bay 12 for some awesome non-Star Wars video review content. If you're trying to keep track of your collection, make sure you check out our other website, CollectorsOracle.com. It's our new archival and collectors service site where you can make an account and keep track and manage your collection like a pro. We'll see you guys later. We'll see you another time. May the Force be with all of you, you Rebel scum.